Hey everybody, I'm Val Free, the Executive Director of the Neighborhood Network Alliance, and this is the Hey Neighbor podcast. Today we are joined by Dwayne Douglas, who is the CEO of QUILT Corporation. Hi Dwayne. So this is the Hey Neighbor podcast, and on the count of three, we do this. 1, 2, 3. Hey neighbor. So Dwayne, tell us about QUILT and how you get started and all of that. What is QUILT?
QUILT is a 501c nonprofit. Mm-hmm. We started in 2017 doing work in communities across Chicago. In 2017, I was on the west side of Chicago, where I'm born and raised in Chicago on the west side in North Lawndale. I haven't been living in the city for about 30 years. I live out in the suburbs, but I came back to visit family. And what I found is that individuals didn't understand why they needed the internet at home. So, in 2017.
God.
So then when I went back home to the suburbs, I did some research to see if it was a prevalent thought in communities like those from which I came. And I found out that it is. And it wasn't just in Chicago, it was across the nation. But I felt compelled to do something about it, to step in and begin to help individuals, get digital literacy skills, get devices, access to the internet, and become more engaged. So in 2020, we formalized QUILT, and we started partnering with communities much like South Shore and NNA. We work in communities where we have community partners only, because it's important for us to feel and be a part of the community so we can build long-term relationships.
Okay, so basically QUILT is a educational organization for around technology or advocacy?
Both.
Okay.
So we do advocacy along with the community, but we also provide classes as well. Okay. So whereas we don't do digital literacy and digital skilling classes, we partner in communities with organizations who are doing that work to help uplift them and empower them to be able to deliver those services, utilizing some of the resources that we bring to the table.
Okay.
As far as education goes, we bring in the apprenticeship programs, the Cisco Net Academy programs, the technology programs, and emerging technology programs to help empower individuals for those the jobs of the future.
Okay. So basically, you're coordinating the needs, the technology needs of the community between the community organizations and your relationships with other organizations and the resources that you already have.
This is correct. And we try to do end-to-end solutions when we come into communities. We don't impose anything on the community because we know those communities are already doing great work. Those community organizations are doing great work. We want to get in where we fit in and help to, again, uplift along with those community organizations.
So the thing that started you was basically the lack of the enthusiasm for the internet. In other words, people that couldn't see the value of it in their home. Exactly. Wow.
Yeah, because my background is in IT and telecommunications, and I firmly understand what that means. I tell the story about my daughter. She's had a device since she was, 5 years old. And I gave her that device, a used device. I didn't have to do much digital literacy training because they already had technology in the school systems. So it was more or less more of an engagement type of a thing. And so for 20 years she's had this, and as you know, we've done distributions, in South Shore along with you.
Yeah.
And we're providing devices to individuals
who are... You can see the huge need.
Yeah, who are of the same age as my daughter now, and it's their first device that they're getting.
Wow.
And so that puts them at a 20-year disadvantage on their digital equity journey.
So speaking of that, because that sounds like an education issue. I was going to get to that, but it sounds like we need to go there right now. So I understand that you did Cisco Academy at Simeon. You taught Cisco Academy, or you were a part of it?
No, we're looking to stand up a Cisco Academy in every community that we work in. So I believe in place-based assistance.
Okay.
So I'm nothing against the community colleges as such. We partner with the community colleges as well. But place-based for those individuals who don't have the means by which to get to the community colleges and or to those places and spaces where they're offering services, we want to bring it closer to them so they can engage with us.
So if our high school students are not digitally literate, or they don't even have a computer, this is their first computer, that's saying a lot about our education system. How do you even break into something like that as an individual, or coming into schools and neighborhoods? Like, say for instance, in South Shore we have 2 high schools, right? And if you were in our neighborhood and you wanted to say, hey, this is a big issue, to prove that point, what would that look like to have to advocate for curriculum in a school? Or is that something you see as a theme?
Well, as we look at it, I think that it's been recognized by the education system as well, because there are a lot of programs out here now, to help educate individuals on emerging technologies as it relates to, obviously, digital literacy and technology, because during COVID, we couldn't even reach the kids at home because they had no means by which to even communicate with the children at home, or even for online classes, right? So the school systems are very much aware of it now. They may be in more of a react mode to it, to the reality of what the scope and the scale of it is. But I think that they are looking to engage. So what I would look to do in coming to the community is definitely not only partnering with the community organizations, but those anchor institutions and educational institutions to ensure that we are providing those pathways.
So in South Shore, the NNA did a broadband strategic plan a few years ago, and I know we shared that with you. But even in that, with what do you see the results of that being pretty much the same across the city of Chicago?
Yes.
Especially in like black neighborhoods?
Yes.
I wouldn't even say like income based, because in some cases South Shore has some of the wealthiest people in the country.
Right.
So I would just say black neighborhoods for them.
Yeah, I see it a lot in I like to say marginalized communities, right?
Okay,
and
we
so,
can use that word too.
Yeah, and marginalized, but and marginalized to me, it's anyone who's definitely doesn't have access to the means and the needs for self-empowerment. Whereas the opportunities may exist, but the barriers that exist are different. Right. So whereas say for example where I live, I don't have those barriers. I can come down to my office and I can begin working and jumping on opportunities. In the communities in which we serve, like South Shore, Woodlawn, North Lawndale, Inglewood, individuals don't have that that privilege. They come down and they're still concerned about those barriers: their light, their gas, their rent, their safety, for that matter, right? Things that I don't worry about, my kids don't worry about. And so it's very, very prevalent that if they're utilizing technology to be able to engage with the community organizations, for example, who offer services to address those barriers, but they don't have connectivity to them. Yeah. If they had that connectivity and that awareness and that understanding of how to engage with them, they themselves could begin to reduce those barriers. But in those communities, black and brown communities, we sometimes don't even lack the infrastructure within our communities to be able to address those issues.
Let's talk about the infrastructure, because I know one of the things that really attract us to you is your ability to help us come up to your ability to help us in South Shore, help NNA advocate. And one of the things that we wanted to do is see how we can bring our own Wi-Fi in South Shore at an affordable price, and that's one of the things that really attract us to you. So we want to talk about what that is and what it looks like.
Yeah. So in our marginalized communities, or black and brown communities, the infrastructure is different than it is, say, on the north side of Chicago or some of the more affluent areas. Whereas in our communities, everything is run off the pole in the alleyway. So
is it?
Everything is run off the pole in the alleyway. So in those other affluent areas, everything is run, if it runs from the pole, it runs to a communications closet in the building, but it's mostly run underground to a communication closet in the building. In ours, the majority of the times it runs off the pole to an apartment. So in an MDU, they'll take a line off of that pole and run it directly to apartments. So a 6-unit apartment, they'll run it to unit 6A. And that'll be, say, incumbent A, right? And then if incumbent B needed to go to the same apartment, they'd run a separate line to that same apartment. So there's no infrastructure inside of the buildings that actually can be utilized and shared amongst all those incumbents. So what that would mean is that, what we're looking to do is to bring choice to the community, right? Mm-hmm. And to those residents, so they can have access to the same solutions that other communities have as well, without all the headaches and the issues and the worry that they're going to have a robust system and solution.
Oh. So how did you end up getting into that piece of technology?
So when I come into
because that's different from, I just want to internet in my house and educating people. This is actual bringing in infrastructure, fiber optics. I learned that from you. This is bringing in all of, basically it's an alternative to the big boys.
This is correct.
And which is what's needed in our neighborhoods, because I feel like we pay the same price, but we get third world service.
You're exactly right with that. Yeah, I've been doing this in our community. So I've been doing telecom for quite a few years. Mm-hmm. So I was back when we were doing T1 lines, and that's before coax and fiber was in the home. Mm-hmm. So now when we look at things, as you mentioned, we're paying the same price as other communities, but getting lesser service. Mm-hmm. And this is true. The University of Chicago did a study on that. I was a part of that study to show, that the internet isn't equitably distributed within various communities. And so what I look to do is to ensure that our infrastructure is distributed equitably, but also that we have access, the same type of access, and access to solutions that can help scale our communities as well. Mm-hmm. And so I'll do it in alignment with the incumbents, or I'll do it for our communities, in partnership with the community, which is the best way I believe that we can move forward, because the incumbents have had years to fix this problem. Yeah. And when COVID comes about, and the problem is, it's always been here. It's not like it wasn't here before COVID. It just was magnified. Right? And it was pushed down because digital equity and inclusion wasn't a big issuant blimp on anybody's budget, right? It's a small box on the bottom. Even today, the city only allocates $10 million for it when they got millions, hundreds of millions of dollars for ARPA funds and as such for those things as well. But in the city of Chicago, it's just a small box. We have a lot of other issues as well, but a lot of them can be solved by helping individuals get connected to the internet.
Yeah. So let's talk about the need for affordable, high quality broadband. What's that story and why you involved in a way where you're building a coalition of neighborhoods that can come together around that? What would make an elected official say, we need to look at this a different way? What would make an elected official say, hey, Dwayne, we want to meet with you? If I was an elected official, what would you tell me that I need to know and to, give you the support you need to go into a South Shore, a Woodlawn, or the West Side and make some changes? What would that look like?
Right. I use this phrase.
What's the need?
The need.
The story.
Yeah.
The problem.
The problem. Well, the problem is that our communities have been in a systemic stall, right? We keep doing the same things over and over again, expecting a different result, and that's just not happening. And history has shown that. And when we have those events like COVID, it really shows how much and how far behind we are. Mm-hmm. When you look at not having access to the internet or understanding why you need the internet, that puts you so far behind. If you can equate it to, say, iPhones. There was a time when iPhones first came out, you wouldn't get another one for 2 years. Yeah. Right? Now they're coming out every 60 days. A different version all over. Different versions out at the exact same time. Yeah. And if we look at the digital equity journey for these communities, we're so far behind. And we have all these emerging technologies that are coming. quantum computing, AI, chat GPT, all these things that we're not engaged in. So you're leaving your community so far behind. And if we look at, if we stay the same course in the same systemic stall, and we look 5 to 10 years down the road where our community is going to be, not only, as a whole, meaning our businesses, our hospitals, the residents within our community organizations, we're going to be so much further behind, it'll almost be impossible to catch up. So it's not about bridging the divide, we have to close it.
We have to close it. So if you were why would an elected official say we want to work with you versus the big boys?
Because the one thing that I do is I partner.
Mm-hmm.
I partner in communities, and I partner for outcomes. I don't partner for the benefit of QUILT or my ISP Node Networks. I partner for the benefit of the community, because my whole calling, I believe, is empowerment for these communities. I've been blessed, right? I live out in the suburbs. I do just fine, and I can always go back to doing my work that I've done for all of these years. But that's not where I choose to be, because I understand that there's a pressing issue and need to get this work done in our community to ensure that people have access, and that their kids' can see that this is where you want to be. You can choose to be where you want, but this is where you need to be if you want to be successful in moving forward in society for generations to come. If we want to stop that systemic stall and get that moving forward, we have to make change. We have to change our minds and change the way that we look and view things, and that's what I look to do when I work with community. So again, I don't come into a community and impose any preconceived ideas. I understand. I live in a bubble. Where I live in a bubble. And so when I come outside of that bubble, I need to adjust my thoughts and my understandings of how I'm going to approach things, because everyone has ideas and everyone's intelligent. And it's not for me to tell people how to think, it's for me to work with people how they think.
Right. So, I'm keep going back to the elected officials because I want them to see and hear this. So, let's just pick South Shore. We have a people are paying too much for fiber optics. Businesses can't get fiber optics without spending God knows how much for broadband Wi-Fi. I mean, it's exorbitant amount of money we're hearing from businesses that are trying to just get internet access. If I was an elected official, what would your pitch be to me on why we need to go with you? And what is the real problem when they're telling us they're servicing our neighborhoods?
So the reason I would say go with me is because I bring what's called an open access solution. Again, I'm not bringing it in just for Dwayne to use and to own. I'm bringing it in for the community to use and to own, which means that any incumbent can utilize the same infrastructure that may already exist in the community that's not being utilized for the community. And that's the more important thing, because with educating individuals on what's happening in the community and bringing those services to those business owners, it brings down the price. So no business owner should be paying for infrastructure to be built in a community. That shouldn't happen. The incumbents who are already making money, already working in those communities, should be building out those networks to those organizations, so those organizations can now hire individuals and train them from the community. It helps to uplift the community as a whole.
Yeah, I love it. So when it's time to talk to our elected officials, be ready, because we want them to hear this so they can give us a call, so we can give you a call. All right. But in terms of like what role does our businesses and nonprofits, government agencies play in your efforts? Can you highlight any successes of collaborations where all of that came about? Like, give me as you're bringing everyone together, because I believe your coalition is a beautiful thing, but highlighting how the successes of it would be nice. And if there isn't any, because it is still early, like, what's the vision of what a success will look like?
So what a successful coalition looks like for me, or implementation in the community looks like for me, is that you have business owners, property owners, anchor institution, all working together and benefiting from the technology efforts of the community. For example, an anchor institution like a hospital, there's so much uncompensated care, costs that are associated to individuals utilizing, not understanding how to use telehealth, not having access to telehealth, not having access to a primary care physician, those type of things. There's educational things that are going through. There are so many businesses that can't reap the rewards of some of the grants and other programs that exist out there as well, because they don't have the general knowledge and or the technology to be able to take advantage of those as well. So crime, for example, if we have more individuals being trained and taught some of these more emerging technologies versus the warehouses, nothing wrong with warehouse and manufacturing. Those are great jobs, but we also need to broaden the workforce a bit across these other emerging technologies, so that people have options. Everyone's not doing the same job, and train them accordingly so they can get industry wage salaries. So then they come back to the community. Now individuals are able to make choice versus being told where they have to do and what they have to do. So I can either rent or I can go and buy a property, bringing more tax base into the community as well.
So going back to the workforce piece, do you think that we should be pushing more and more people towards not digital equity, but just technology with AI coming out that's going to be replacing a lot of folks' jobs? How do we advocate that this needs to be where people come and make it sexy?
Right.
Because technology ain't sexy. But you can make a lot of money in it. See, the thing is, the lifestyle is sexy.
That's the sexy part.
The lifestyle is sexy, but the actual work, or just the gibberish of the language. I say gibberish of the language because I'm done crossed up a couple words here, but you know what I mean, like the to get people into it in a way where they're like, can see this is a good thing. It's not a fear to learn technology. It's something you would want to learn. Like for me, I'm a little different. I think just early I learned technology in a different kind of way. I learned DOS in my 20s, so I think differently. But
right.
But I still, like in our meetings, I say this is because Nathan said, "Oh, I didn't know you knew all of that. I thought you were running away." I was like, "Well, that was a different life." So I do know a little bit, but it's not what I do, but at the same time, we have this next generation of leaders who may not be leading anything, because we do have AI out there, and we do have a huge need for people to go into technology, and a big gap in blacks in technology. So how do we, what would that look like in the South Shore promoting something like that? And how do we make it I want to learn how to do some stuff in technology, even if it's not Wi-Fi or broadband, but just learn how to do anything.
Yeah, the thing about technology, when people think about it, they think about software and machines. And there's so many jobs in technology that are unrelated to those, that are very good paying jobs. And that's what we have to bring to bear, helping individuals understand it. And anything that you're doing now is mostly related to technology in some form or fashion, right?
Yeah.
And so even auto mechanics, right? You want to be a mechanic now. There's a chip in there. When during COVID, the cars couldn't get moved because they couldn't get chips over here, so the cars didn't run. So there's technology in everything that we do. And when we say emerging technology, we're looking at those technologies that are going to be up and coming. And we want to ensure that we have pathways for individuals to be engaging in those as well. And we started with helping them understand that technology isn't something to be feared, it's something to be embraced, right? Because we're doing it with everything that we do. If you're in the medical field, manufacturing, warehouse work, we have robotics in warehouses now, so which need to be maintained, which need to be programmed. You have networks now that also need customer service reps to be working on as well, and they're going to use technology in doing their customer service work. They say, well, AI is going to do some of that work. Well, someone needs to program the AI to do that work. Someone needs to maintain it. So there are jobs out there. We just need to understand, help individuals understand the holistic approach of what emerging technologies mean and what the whole field of technology is all about.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I think that's really what it is the vision of where they could go with it. And I also feel like, just as you described, people just think about the things that they immediately see, not understanding like there's a whole thing. Everything is pretty much technology, but we don't think about it like that. Because I could tell you, I just interviewed Lost Boys. It's a youth organization. Most of them might not even be thinking about technology like that. You know what I mean? But how do we get them to do that so that they are ready for the next phase in their lives?
Yeah.
You know? But the reason why we know you is because we are part of your collaborating coalition of neighborhood organizations and things like that. And last week we were at a conference together, and I really enjoyed listening to you talk and how you saw the neighborhoods and how you explain about what the collaborations are and the building the trust and all of that. So one of the things you talked about is when you come into a neighborhood, because there'll be other neighborhoods that's watching that's going to want to know more about you. Tell them what that process is like.
Yeah, so when I go into a neighborhood, the way I love to go into a neighborhood is through a recommendation. Because that's the best trusted relationship, and I believe trust is a glue, right? It's like in any relationship, you have to be able to trust. So you can openly share, communicate, and just expose your faults. Because you're in a trusting relationship, you have no problem in doing so because you want help, right? And you're seeking that help. There's no abrasiveness, and when I go into a community, I hope to bring that, that vulnerability and saying, I'm here to help. I want to work with you. I have my own issues and my faults, everything else, and we can work together to solve solutions, and helping to define what those look like in the community. So when I do go into a community, I do an assessment, but I do it hand in hand with the community organization, much like you're pretty much aware because we've done this. And we've looked at the strategic plan that you guys have already done that work. So that's work that's not needed by me. The only thing that's needed for me is to look at the strategic plan with you and say, how can we get this thing moving? Right? How can we promote it more and do that kind of work? And that's what I do when I work with communities. For example, when I'm working in Woodlawn, the same thing. I have a trusted partner. I have to have a trusted partner because I tell people all the time, I might be from the community, but I'm not of the community. And I understand that, and I respect that. And so when I do come into the community, I need a community partner that's going to stand with me in a trusting relationship, and we're going to move forward in earnest to ensure that, that the programs that we're doing benefit the community in alignment with the needs of the community.
Yes, I love it. So why did you like South Shore? You could have been in anybody's neighborhood, and I'm glad you came to South Shore. Let me just be clear. This is a good partnership. It definitely, we leverage each other. So, but what attracted you most to South Shore? Because literally, you could have been in any neighborhood.
Yeah, the history. So the history, but then also your organization. So I had heard about the work you were doing in South Shore. And I said, okay, I need to be in South Shore to see how I can help and what I can bring to bear. But it was a tough nut to crack, because
we're protective.
You guys are protective of your community, and I really appreciate that. But it did not stop me, because I expected that. And when I see that makes me want to work more with those organizations because it's saying, what, these individuals are for the community, they're of the community, and they want the best. They want the best in their community. So when I saw South Shore and the work that you guys are doing, and everyone I talked to said, "Oh, you have to talk to NNA, you have to talk to Val Free, you have to work with her as well." I felt that.
I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah, and so I was really looking at it, but I've talked to several organizations. I said, no, NNA is an organization I need to be working with in South Shore, and South Shore is a community that I have to work with as well because of the digital equity issues that were happening in South Shore as well. Because I want to solve issues, not just for digital equity, just saying that, okay, now we have computers. Yeah. Okay, now what?
Yeah.
We have digital literacy. Okay, now what? But is anything changing? And that's what I love about working in the communities now is just that, is making that change happen, having that impact and working with them to do so.
So in South Shore, our goal, one of our main goals is to get a facility so that we can have a digital navigator program. What neighborhoods have you seen like the digital navigator? Talk to people about what's the digital navigator, and what neighborhoods have you seen where it just really blew up, and how would you see that benefit in South Shore?
So the digital navigator, so I'm going to tell you what I think of a digital navigator, right?
Okay.
I think a digital navigator are people who are doing the work that you're already doing.
Yeah.
And they're just doing it from a different perspective, because digital navigation is more like social work, right? It's more like community impact coordinators or individuals who go into the home and help individuals from a holistic perspective. Because just a digital navigator is great from a technology perspective, but as we talked before, there's different barriers that need to be addressed before anyone can even get to those technology issues that they're having.
Right.
So we need to solve for those as well. But that's the holistic approach that I think like an NNA brings to the table, because you guys are so connected in the community. And so and on the west side of Chicago in North Lawndale, it's similar over there as well. Over there with I Am Able, NLCCC, that group as well, is where they've broken down their community into 44 8-block sectors, and we're working block by block by block with block leaders to not only bridge the digital divide or close the digital divide, as I love to say, but also all the other issues and concerns that may happen, say from a mental health perspective, right? Mental health shouldn't be a negative term in any sense of the word, because we all have our own struggles, right?
Yeah.
We may not want to address them or admit to them, but we do, and we need that assistance. Because mental health could also be just something as far as mentorship goes, right? I need more confidence to show that I can go along this digital pathway to success, those type of things as well. So we wrap it around with those things as well, and even in Woodlawn, where we're working over there with the Woodlawn Resource Center. We have community impact coordinators, a digital navigator. We have digital literacy training.
Oh, you all already
there.
have it over there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Are you working with POA?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they have.
We're working over there with POA.
They have everything. It's easy.
Yeah, and they have an active community. So, but you work with them, you work with their community, but we're looking to expand it throughout Woodlawn. So, right, not just address who their captive audience is, but to expand it a bit further. And we do it through various initiatives. So we have over there, it's called, instead of called CABI, which is the QUILT name for the work that we do, Chicago Area Broadband Initiative, we call it TIMI, Technology Economic Mobility Initiative, because we throw in there a financial aspect to it. But also, I want the community to buy into it and to feel good about whatever we're doing. So you can call it whatever you like, as long as we're getting the work done.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's cool. I know you talked with Gerald, my board member. He mentioned he wanted to do in his area. And just so you know, like, we organize South Shore the same. We do it a little different than Austin, but we have what we call area councils, block by block. And he says he doesn't know what we do. I said, yes, he does. He may not know, so I was like, let me get that clear. So yeah, we do. We have what we call area councils, which is a 15 to 40 block radius, and organized block by block. And I thought you knew that, but I just thought I'd just say that. So, when you're talking about Austin, you can talk about us too.
Well, North Lawndale. So in North Lawndale,
yeah. Sorry.
So one of the Deborah Wesley.
Wrap it up.
She actually lives in South Shore.
Oh, really? What's her name?
Deborah Wesley.
Okay.
And so she said, hey, you need to be working over here as well in South Shore, doing some of this work. But I was on the south side before I was on the west side. And I'm from the west side, but I started to work on the south side, and then I was taken to the west side, and then I came back further south to the south side to do more work. But I do understand it about how your community is broken down, but it's more or less how are you connected in the community. It's the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
So they can break it down any way they want, but if they're not connected, it's just a broken down community.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But you guys are all connected in the community and doing great work. And that's the really thing that people really need to look at when they're trying to come into a community and working with you. And understanding that you're not gatekeeping.
No.
You're there to make sure that the community is not only partnering with good organizations, but also partnering for the right reasons.
Exactly.
And the right reason is outcomes for the community.
Exactly. I don't think in a lot of cases people understand that is the reason why there's a vetting stage, like who are you, what are you going, who funds you, blah blah blah. Whereas because so many neighborhoods get caught up into some talking points, and companies and nonprofits go in they're predatory, and they tend to have all the right talking points, can speak to all the pain points, but then there's a different agenda once they're in the neighborhood. You can't get them out once they're in. I mean, it's hard. It can happen, but it's hard. Mm-hmm. You need to really, really, really be able to have your hand on the ear of the neighborhood to be able to do that. But who wants to go through that, right? You know. So, but I appreciate your partnership because, yes, it might have been a little tough, but it's only for the best of, for all for good purposes.
I know that. I respect that.
It's all for the good, because there's so many. It's just so many. It's just so much stuff going on, and especially Woodlawn, South Shore, because of the Obama Center. Everybody is looking for a way to get over there for one reason or another, but it may not always benefit our neighborhoods. So right. I want to say, first of all, thank you for stopping by, us talking about this. If I missed anything that we need to cover, please, this is the time so we can get it out there, because I want to make sure that this visit was worth your time. We can talk about it. But I am appreciative of you coming by and coming through.
I appreciate that, and I'm very appreciative of your partnership. It means a lot to me, because when I feel it makes me feel as if I'm a part of the community.
Yeah,
and that really warms me when I get up in the morning to do this work. I really appreciate that.
I'm so glad. So we're gonna wrap this up, and we wrap it up by saying, "Bye, neighbor."
Bye, neighbor.